Ms. Gibbony, you're up for 5 minutes.
Thank you for inviting me here today. My name is Agnes Gibbony. I was born in Budapest, Hungary. I was 2 when my family left in January of 1957 as refugees. We immigrated to Brazil, where we lived for 13 years, legally trying to apply to come to the United States. My parents, my brother, and myself legally immigrated to the United States. We followed all the rules, the laws. We followed all the background investigation, thorough background investigation, and thorough medical exams by American consulate appointed and approved doctors. We also had to have character witnesses attesting that we had good moral standing, and my father was required to have a job contract. Today, April 27, marks my son Ronald da Silva's 15th anniversary of his murder. Ronald was my firstborn, my only son. His father, my first husband, was a Brazilian national. Ronald was a good person, kind, considerate, respectful, loving, funny, and sometimes a practical joker. He helped my parents, and Ronald was a good big brother to his 2 sisters. He was always there when anyone needed his help. Ronald went to visit his 2 children, Matthew and Marcel, and while standing on the driveway, he was shot, a bullet that was intended for someone else. The shooter, the murderer, was an illegal alien with a long criminal record who had been previously deported. Immediately after the shooting, he fled to Mexico. His wife was depositing her welfare check at the credit union so he could withdraw it in Tijuana so he could live on. He eventually returned to the United States and was sent to prison. He's due to be released in 2 years and 7 months. I am afraid that California won't notify ICE of his pending release. It took me almost 11 years to find out he had an ICE hold. Our borders would have been, if our borders would have been secured, Ronald would still be here, along with thousands of innocent victims killed by illegal aliens. Many criminal illegals, illegal aliens deported, return to our unsecured borders to continue victimizing American citizens. One life lost is one too many. We need a barrier, we need a wall, and more Border Patrol officers to protect us all. Ronald's murder devastated my family. My only sibling, my brother Laszlo, had a massive stroke at age 51 due to the overwhelming stress and despair. He died the following day, only 4 months after Ronald was murdered. You see, my brother was married to my sister-in-law, who is from Mexico, and that devastated them. My father gave up living. He wanted to die, to be with Ronald, his first grandchild. It took him 11 years of suffering. My mother tried to be so hard and strong for me and the family. She was our rock, but I could see the incredible pain in her eyes. She too is in heaven now. They are together, my son, my brother, father, and mother. I have never seen my husband Mark, a highly educated man, retired deputy chief of El Monte PD, where my son was murdered, so helpless. Watching the devastation, the panic, the pain, there was nothing he could do to undo or fix what happened. He was the one to call me at the campground where I was camping with my 2 daughters, with Girl Scouts, to tell me that Ronald was shot in the shoulder and he was expected to survive. We immediately drove home. As I walked in the house, he hugged me and said, "I am sorry." I told him I was going to the hospital to be with Ronald, so when he came out of surgery, he wouldn't be alone. It was then that he said, "I'm sorry, Ronald didn't make it." Now I live a life sentence of pain and suffering, wondering what would Ronald look like. Would he have gray hair at age 44? Would he be married? What would he be doing? I miss his beautiful smile, his warm bear hugs, his sense of humor, our talks. I miss his voice, his scent. I miss family get-togethers with all of us present. My family is permanently broken and separated. I can't travel anywhere in the world to see him ever again. I will forever miss all the tomorrows and all that was taken from me, all because of broken, open borders. I miss watching him iron his clothes and spend a long time fixing his hair. But what I miss the most is him calling me Mommy. I miss everything. I simply miss my son. All I have left are his clothes, old photos, baby shoes, baby bottles, some toys and memories. I live with this emptiness, a hole in my heart, longing for my son. And I live with a daily fear of losing another child or family member. We cannot afford to lose one more life. Ronald is just one life. His death is not an isolated case. Deputy David March, murdered a couple of days after Ronald in a neighboring town. His murderer also fled to Mexico, and he also had been previously deported. His widow, Terry, and I became friends. We would compare our pain, our hurt, our grief, and often cry together. Officer Don Johnston, a co-worker of my husband, was shot by someone who overstayed his visa. He became paraplegic. He ultimately died of his injuries. Hundreds of victims, innocent lives. I wonder how many more are there that we don't know about because our government does not keep statistics on illegal aliens, crimes. What an overall problem it is for a nation that so many of U.S. citizens are killed on a daily basis by illegal aliens who shouldn't be in our country to begin with. When I became a U.S. citizen, the first president I voted for was President Ronald Reagan, who signed an amnesty bill, which was supposed to be followed by securing our borders and enforcing immigration laws within our country, including verifying rights to employment. These things have never been done, and the conditions have gotten worse every year. The irony is, my family and I legally immigrated to the United States, and an illegal murdered my son, who should have never been in the country to begin with. I urge you to do what so many politicians have promised for years: a secure border, eliminate incentives for illegal aliens to come here, and enforcement of existing immigration laws. It is too late for my son Ronald and the thousands killed by illegal aliens, but there are so many lives that can be saved if you would just take action and put Americans first. Our President Donald Trump deserves more respect. He is working so hard to protect our country, protect our Constitution. Illegal aliens have no constitutional rights. A country without border is no country. You may say that it is inhumane to deport illegal aliens who didn't care about breaking our laws. How inhumane is it that my son Ronald and thousands of innocent victims' lives were cut short? It is the responsibility of the government to keep us safe, and our President Trump is working to accomplish that. Please do not stand in his way. Work with him. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.